So here today, what we have and what we're going to look at is the Beretta M9A3. Some significant differences in this pistol versus the standard M9. We're going to talk about those and show them to you. This gun I acquired recently, and I have to say, part of what attracted me to it was one, just Beretta, the name, the history associated with our military, and the fact that I happen to think the color scheme and the way the gun looks is just really nice. And also some of the features that come with the gun that are different and differentiate it from others in its class. So the first one to me that made this gun attractive to me with my hands is the fact that they removed that traditional Beretta hump. Now they do provide hoe grips with the gun, so if you want to have that much larger grip face, you've got the hoe grips that you can throw on the gun to give you more meat for your hands if you have larger hands. For me, I really like this setup. It fits in my hand so much better. I'm the farther up in the tang of the gun, and it just feels me much more natural than the original M9s. Again, personal opinion. Some of you guys could disagree with me there. That's fine. So Beretta also did some things that make this gun a little bit more of a higher end pistol. To begin with, they put suppressor height night sights on the gun, and these sights are really nice. They're very slick. They're steel sights, iron sights. They're going to last. You're going to set up suppressor ready, so I can put a can on this gun right out of the box. Nothing special needed. They've also changed, and we'll talk about this, but they've also changed the safety in terms of the angle at which the safety is. Before it was just straight across, and you guys may have not experienced this, but when I used to manipulate Berettas, especially in a malfunction clearance drill, I would inevitably somehow get my hands down far enough to engage the safety, which would put me on dead trigger, right? Which is really frustrating if you're trying to clear the gun. Some people have said that's crap, that never happened. I'm telling you guys, it's happened to me and it's happened to a lot of other people. And if you read some of the forums and if you talk to people who had used the traditional design, they'll tell you. I saw it happen in two of my classes. People came with standard M9 and they induced essentially a stoppage or a dead gun by working a clearance drill only to set the safety. So this new design with the safety farther up is actually, in my opinion, a big improvement. The other thing that Beretta did is they used a different trigger spring than they had in the, or at least this gun does, than they had in the original M9s. So the Beretta's trigger, as you guys know, is a really long double action trigger. It's long, and it's longer than some others out there. With the hump before, my hand was stretched to really get a good placement on the trigger with my trigger finger. The new trigger, the weight of the spring in there, is much more conducive to that first shot. So that, to me, big improvement. Also on this gun, it has a relatively short reset. So press, reset. And when you're running the gun, right, I mean, you're resetting the trigger in recoil. So that shorter distance, or what perceives to me, and again, I don't have an M9 to compare it to, but this seems better than my recollection of other standard stock M9s. Beretta has, as you guys know, that has the longer slide stop or slide release right there, which for my thumbs is perfect. I can hit that every time reliably, and I really like that feature. Of course, simple takedown, press here, rotate across, spin the takedown lever down, slide the gun apart, and you guys know what the rest of the internals look like here. This is one thing I think they missed. They should have put a steel recoil guide in there, in my opinion. Give a little extra weight up front, and also just that helps, in my mind, the pistol perform. Additional design, lock up here. You can see my hands are filthy. I shot this gun, as I think 450 odd, 454 or 460 rounds in a break-in period the other day. I haven't cleaned it since then. And no malfunctions. I tried, I think, 5 different types of ammunition, multiple bullet weights. Again, in a break-in period, no issues. 100% reliable. That's a good sign. Now, 500 rounds is sort of the minimum amount for me for a break-in. I want to ultimately have 1,000 rounds through a gun before I'm going to bet my life on it. But through the first almost 500 rounds, we've had really, really good results. So that to me is exciting and encouraging that Beretta got this right. So the gun comes with 3 17-round mags. Again, good thing, good for you, Beretta. A lot of times you go out and you buy, a handgun, they give you 2 magazines. And to me, that's not really enough. I want to have the minimum 3 magazines, and once I decide that I'm going to keep a particular pistol, I want to have a minimum of 10 magazines. And that's just me because I hate loading mags. So I load them up before I go to the range so I can go ahead and, fire a couple hundred rounds before having to stop and reload. And that's just me. Now, one thing about the Beretta design, and there's a lot of talk about, well, this is designed because the fact that the slide is cut away, it allows less crap to get held up, and so I can rotate the gun. There's not going to be any junk getting in there preventing the slide from operating. I don't know. I don't have any issues with any of the guns I own in terms of reliability, in terms of junk getting in there. Now, I haven't taken all of those guns into a sandy situation and seen how they perform, but certainly I'm confident Glocks, my M&Ps, my SIGs would all do fine. I know some guys who ran SIGs as their secondary weapon in Afghanistan and in Iraq. They never had any issues with them. So anyway, I digress. What I do notice is when you're shooting the gun a lot, like I like to shoot, multiple magazines in a row, working different drills, and doing a lot of, single presentations from the holster, working that long double action press, and then decocking and doing it again, because for me it's the transition between the double action to the single action that people need to practice, and certainly I need to practice. So I do a lot of that. However, after doing a lot of those presentations and shooting, 4 or 5 magazines, even if you shoot 3 magazines back to back very quickly, you reload them and go, the barrel begins to heat up. So if you grab your barrel, or if you're used to press checking on the front, that's a really hot area. So, I get it's the Beretta design, it's fine, and I'm not in combat, so maybe I'd be wearing gloves or whatever. It's important to note that the gun heats up and then exposes your skin. And if you're just, you're going to do malfunctions clearance, right, and you're kind of coming across, it's easy to get pretty toasty up there. So that is not a great thing for me in terms of the design, but again, it is what it is, and that's fine. Standard lanyard loop here that you see on that, slightly beveled magwell, again, which nice to have, maybe not needed to have, but certainly nice to have. So overall, I think this is a really cool gun. I'm excited to have it in my collection. I'm excited to start shooting it a lot. I like to shoot, and so I don't want to just buy a gun and put 50 rounds through it and say, oh, it's a great gun. I want to actually go shoot several thousand rounds with that gun. None of my guns are safe queens, and this one will definitely, as you can see, it's filthy, will definitely be put to its tests over the next several months. I did find very good results, exactly what I expect and exactly what I see with almost any handgun. I did some step back drills out to 25 yards, and I think I had 3 shots that were outside of the center of the target. And those happened, one of them happened at 15 yards. So I was shooting 4 shots per location, 4 at 3, 4 at 5, 4 at 7, 4 at 10, 4 at 15, and then 4 at 25. And I was running the gun the way I believe we should all run these guns, double action guns. So I came out of holster, gun is in double action. I make that first presentation through the long double action press, and then the next 3 shots are single action. So of that whole thing, and I'll show you guys the target, you can see that there's only 3 shots of that entire string that were outside of that area. I also shot some, basic drills. I shot a modified version of Dot Torture, and I think scored 48 out of 50. Again, we'll show you that target. That modified version is on Todd Green's website, pistoltraining.com, and it's a little different than the traditional version because it focuses more on leveraging the double action that this gun is set up to do, right? It's not set up that every single time I'm shooting the gun, I'm going to shoot in double action, and I'm not going to put a single action cocked pistol into my holster unless I have the ability to put a safety on. When I put this safety on, what happens? It decocks the gun. So, important to recognize and practice the way the gun is intended to be run. Now, I have some people who say, well, I don't ever chamber around until I'm ready to go. And that's fine, pros and cons to not having a round in the chamber. However, at the end of that firing sequence, you still have to decock the gun, which means unless you fire the whole magazine, you have a gun now that is fired 4 or 5 rounds that has to be decocked, which means on that next presentation, you're going to have to fire a double action shot to get back into single action unless you're going to eject that round so you can get back into single action, which makes no sense to me. My experience when I was shooting the other day is, again, long double action trigger press, but it's certainly smooth and good. And I think that anybody who's just going to work this type of gun is going to do a lot of these drills where, you're working the trigger and you're just trying to be as smooth and consistent through that trigger press as you can. So I'm a big believer that if you've got a double action pistol, you have to practice the double action shot. You can't do what a lot of my friends do, is they never shoot the gun in double action. They go out the range, they cycle it, they're in single action, and then they shoot everything in single action. And that's okay if that's all you're going to do. But if you're actually going to use the gun and define the mission of the gun as potentially personal protection, you need to practice that. The overall weight, this to me is not a carry type gun. I'm not saying it couldn't be carried, but it's pretty big and the barrel is pretty long. I think there are better options for that. I think this makes a good personal home defense gun. Or alternatively, if you were at a place where open carry or your mission allowed open carry, that it could be on the hip, certainly a solid gun. Obviously, the heavier gun mitigates some of the recoil, although with 9mm, I didn't experience, even when we shot some hotter loads the other day, I didn't find it uncomfortable at all to shoot. I just found it fun to shoot, and I wanted more magazines and more ammo. So guys, that's kind of a look at the gun itself, and we will do a detailed range review here in a week or two, depending on how the schedule goes with our other projects, and give you a chance to see that, experience that, and I'm favorably impressed. Now the gun retails for almost $1,000, $998. I got this gun for right around $800. And again, with 3 magazines, the case, and all the other stuff. So 3 magazines, night sights, a nice configuration, the ability to change out the grip, for this type of double action pistol, pretty good. You're not going to get a SIG for less than $1,000 unless it's used. You're not going to get a CZ for much less than that. Either. So if you're looking at that range of double action style pistol, unless you're going with a Taurus or some other copy, you can expect to pay $800 to $1,000 and up. So as I said, you can typically find a 20% discount depending on where you buy it from. And even if you were to pay the $998, is it a fair price? I think pretty close. I think a better price point, more realistic price point would be in that $700 to $800 range, but that's just me not wanting to spend $1,000 on a handgun. So enough of me talking. Boy, that was too long. And we will give you guys updates, and I hope you'll join us for the range review. I did post on some of this video today, some of the drills that we're doing, so you can at least get a sense of it. But I really like it. I'm very favorably impressed, and I'm especially impressed with the sort of marketing approach that they've taken with the, the box, the presentation of the gun. The gun comes in this box, right? And right here, and this really cracked me up, but it's brilliant. So right here it says, make sure to take out product before using target. Good plan. So my guess is some Yahoo got the gun, had it in the box, and had a brain lapse, and shot it. So either that or Beretta has a very good sense of humor. Either way, it made me laugh. Hey guys, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks for your patience with the length of this video. I think there's a lot to share and excited to have the opportunity to share the Beretta with you. Finally, and as always, stay safe. Beretta M992, the Beretta M9A3. So now what we have is the Beretta. So now